In the silence of an ordinary morning, as the sun still hesitates to show its first rays, a question echoes in the depths of our consciousness. Who is the one observing their own thoughts? This seemingly simple inquiry carries within it the seed of an inner revolution that has the power to completely transform our life experience. Imagine yourself before a crystal-clear lake in the early hours of the day. The water's surface, still untouched by the wind, perfectly reflects the sky above. This is the natural state of our mind when we learn to cultivate the art of conscious observation. As Eckhart Tolle teaches us in The Power of Now, our true nature is not in the thoughts that arise and disappear like clouds in the sky, but in the silent consciousness that observes them. Modern life keeps us in a constant state of mental activity, like a lake stirred by countless waves. We run from one thought to another, from one worry to the next, rarely allowing ourselves to experience the clarity and peace that reside beyond this incessant movement. However, just as the lake does not cease to exist when its waters are agitated, our essence remains unchanged beneath the whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. The first step in this journey of transformation is developing the ability to observe without judging. When we begin to witness our thoughts and emotions with the same neutrality with which we would observe clouds passing in the sky, a subtle change begins to happen. As Jacobo Grinberg explains in his studies on altered states of consciousness, this simple change in perspective is enough to begin dismantling crystallized mental patterns. Our mind is like a garden in constant transformation. Each thought is a seed that, when nourished by attention, grows and multiplies. As we develop the capacity for conscious observation, we become more skilled gardeners, able to choose which seeds we want to cultivate and which we will let pass without giving them roots. The process of awakening the inner observer is not a search for something new, but a return to our essential nature. It's like removing layers of dust from a mirror. The mirror was always there, only its ability to reflect clearly was temporarily compromised. Similarly, our consciousness has always been present, just obscured by years of conditioning and automatic patterns of thought. Deepak Chopra, in his work on consciousness and transformation, often emphasizes that the first step to any significant change is the development of self-awareness. We cannot transform what we do not observe. It's like trying to reorganize a dark room. First, we need to turn on the light to see what needs to be changed. As we cultivate this conscious presence, we begin to notice subtle patterns in our thoughts and behaviors. We realize how certain situations trigger automatic reactions, how certain thoughts lead to specific emotional states, and how our beliefs shape our perception of reality. This understanding is like a map that allows us to navigate more wisely through the territory of our inner experience. The awakening of the inner observer is not a single event, but an ongoing process of refining consciousness. It's like learning to play a musical instrument. At first, the movements are clumsy and require constant attention, but with practice, they become natural and fluid. Similarly, the ability to maintain awakened consciousness becomes increasingly natural over time. This journey of self-discovery reveals to us that we are much more than our thoughts and emotions. Like the sky that remains vast and unchanged, regardless of the weather conditions that pass through it, our consciousness is the immutable space where all experience happens. This understanding is the foundation upon which all authentic transformation is built. The dawn brings with it not only the sunlight, but also the awakening of countless mental patterns that, like tireless dancers, perform their habitual choreography in our consciousness. These patterns, woven over years of experiences and conditioning, form the invisible fabric that shapes our perception of reality and influences every aspect of our lives. Like a river that over millennia carves its path through rock, our repetitive thoughts create deep grooves in our mind. These neural pathways, as neuroscientist Richard Davidson explains in his studies on brain plasticity, become preferred routes for our mental processes. However, just as the course of a river can be altered, our mental patterns can also be transformed through consciousness and intention. The human mind is a tireless weaver of stories. At every moment, it weaves interpretations about reality, creating narratives that give meaning to our experiences. As Byron Katie teaches in her work with thought questioning, These stories are often accepted as absolute truths without ever being questioned. They are like invisible glasses through which we see the world, so familiar that we forget we are wearing them. Observing our mental patterns is like watching a play where we are simultaneously the audience, the actors, and the director. Each thought is a line of the script, each emotion a cue for the next scene. As we develop the ability to observe this spectacle with greater clarity, we begin to realize that we have the power to rewrite the script. Mental patterns manifest at different levels of our experience. There are those more superficial, like our preferences and daily habits, and others deeper, like our fundamental beliefs about ourselves and about the nature of reality. As Carl Jung explains in his studies on the unconscious, these deeper patterns are like underground roots that support the entire structure of our personality. The transformation of these patterns does not occur through force or repression, but through awareness and understanding. Like a gardener who, instead of violently uprooting an unwanted plant, understands the conditions that allowed its growth and works to create an environment more conducive to the flourishing of other species, we need to understand the nature of our mental patterns to be able to transform them. Working with mental patterns is a delicate dance between acceptance and transformation. As Thich Nhat Hanh teaches in his mindfulness practices, we first need to welcome our thoughts and emotions with compassion before we can transform them. It's like embracing a crying child. First we offer comfort and understanding, then we can help them find a new perspective. As we become more aware of our mental patterns, we begin to perceive how they influence our experience of reality. The same event can be interpreted in completely different ways, depending on the mental patterns through which we perceive it. It's like looking through different color filters. Reality remains the same, but our perception of it changes dramatically. The practice of conscious observation allows us to identify the triggers that activate certain mental patterns. Like a scientist studying a natural phenomenon, we begin to notice the conditions that precede certain mental and emotional states. This understanding gives us the power to intervene in the process before it unfolds completely, creating new possibilities for response. The transformation of mental patterns is a gradual process that requires patience and persistence. Like a drop of water that, falling constantly in the same place, eventually creates a depression in the rock, our constant practice of awareness gradually creates new neural pathways and new possibilities for experience. Our journey of transformation would not be complete without recognizing the fundamental role of the body as a sacred vehicle of consciousness. Like a living temple, each cell of our being vibrates with an ancient and profound intelligence, carrying within it the accumulated wisdom of billions of years of evolution. This body we inhabit is not just a biological machine, but a refined instrument of perception and expression of consciousness. Candace Pert, in her revolutionary research on the biology of emotions, demonstrated that our physiology is inseparable from our conscious experience. Each thought, each emotion, finds expression through molecular messengers that bathe every cell of our body. We are, literally, our biography transformed into biology. Breathing serves as a sacred bridge between body and consciousness. As Dr. Andrew Weil teaches in his studies on integrative medicine, the simple act of conscious breathing has the power to reorganize our nervous system and profoundly alter our state of consciousness. Each inhalation brings new life. Each exhalation releases what no longer serves us. It is a constant dance of renewal and transformation. Our physical posture reflects and influences our inner state. As demonstrated by researcher Amy Cuddy's studies, even small changes in our body posture can significantly alter our hormone levels and our subjective experience. The body does not lie. It is a faithful mirror of our inner reality and at the same time a powerful tool to transform it. The ancient masters of yoga deeply understood this connection between body and consciousness. Each asana, each posture, is not just a physical exercise, but a door to expanded states of consciousness. As BKS Iyengar explains in his work on The Art of Yoga, when we align the body with precision and awareness, we create the conditions for vital energy to flow freely, dissolving physical and mental blockages. The body carries within it a wisdom that transcends intellect. Through the practice of body awareness, we can access deeper layers of understanding that are not available through rational thought. It's as if each cell were a receiver tuned to subtler frequencies of reality, capturing information that escapes our ordinary senses. Traditional Chinese medicine has for millennia recognized the body as an integrated system of energy and consciousness. As Dr. Ted Kapchuk explains in his work on Eastern medicine, each organ is not just a physical structure, but a processing center for different aspects of our conscious experience. The heart not only pumps blood, but processes our emotional experiences. The liver not only detoxifies, but stores and processes different aspects of our vital force. Conscious movement is a powerful form of meditation in action. When we move, with full attention, as taught in the practices of Tai Chi and Qigong, each gesture becomes an expression of the harmony between body and consciousness. It's as if we were dancing with the very flow of life, allowing vital energy to circulate freely through us. Our relationship with the body is a direct reflection of our relationship with life. When we learn to honor and respect this living temple we inhabit, we naturally begin to make more conscious choices regarding nutrition, rest, and movement. As Deepak Chopra teaches, the body is a process, not a structure. It is in constant renewal, responding moment by moment to the messages we send through our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Working with the body is a profound form of self-healing. Through body awareness, we can identify and release accumulated tensions, stored traumas, and limiting patterns. As Peter Levine explains in his studies on trauma, the body carries within it the natural capacity to self-regulate and heal, as long as we create the appropriate conditions through awareness and care. In the vast laboratory of our consciousness, emotions are like primordial elements that, through the subtle art of inner alchemy, can be transformed into spiritual gold. Each feeling that arises is an opportunity for transformation, an invitation to dive deeper into the understanding of our essential nature. As psychologist Daniel Goleman teaches in his studies on emotional intelligence, our emotions are not just automatic reactions, but complex states of consciousness that involve thought, bodily sensation, and impulse for action. They are like signals sent by the deep wisdom of our being, pointing directions for our growth and evolution. The practice of conscious observation of emotions reveals that they are like waves in the ocean of our consciousness. They arise, grow, reach a peak, and naturally dissolve if we do not interfere with the process. As Tara Brach explains in her work with mindfulness, the key is not to control or suppress emotions, but to learn to surf their waves with grace and wisdom. Each emotion carries within it a specific message and a particular energy that, when understood and consciously integrated, can become a catalyst for our transformation. Anger, when observed with awareness, can reveal boundaries that need to be established or injustices that need to be addressed. Fear, when embraced with compassion, can show us areas where we need to develop more confidence and understanding. Dr. David Hawkins' studies on levels of consciousness demonstrate how different emotional states correspond to different vibrational frequencies. States such as fear, anger, and shame vibrate at lower frequencies, while love, joy, and peace vibrate at higher frequencies. The art of emotional alchemy consists of learning to consciously elevate our vibrational frequency. The heart, as demonstrated by research from the HeartMath Institute, is not just a mechanical pump, but a sophisticated information processing center that profoundly influences our emotional experience. When we enter a state of cardiac coherence, through practices such as conscious gratitude, our entire physical and emotional system reorganizes into a more harmonious pattern. Compassion is one of the most powerful tools in the alchemy of emotions. As the Dalai Lama teaches, when we develop the ability to observe our emotional suffering with compassionate eyes, we create the necessary space for transformation to happen. It's like embracing a crying child. Our love and acceptance create a safe field where healing can happen naturally. Our relationship with emotions is deeply influenced by cultural patterns and family conditioning. As transpersonal therapist Stanislav Grof explains, many of our emotional difficulties have roots in early experiences and intergenerational traumas. Awareness of these patterns is the first step towards their transformation. The practice of emotional alchemy requires patience and persistence. Like a scientist in their laboratory, we need to learn to observe our emotional reactions with curiosity and openness, noticing the conditions that provoke them and the patterns that repeat. This conscious observation gradually allows us to develop new ways of responding to life situations. Working with emotions is inseparable from working with the body. As Dr. Bessel van der Kolk demonstrates in his research on trauma, emotions are not just mental states, but complete bodily experiences. Practices that integrate body and emotion, such as biodanza and therapeutic theater, can be powerful tools for emotional transformation. In the vastness of time, there is only one point where life really happens, the present moment. Like a portal, eternally open to the deepest dimension of existence, the now constantly invites us to awaken to the fullness of life that manifests at every instant. This moment, so simple and yet so extraordinary, contains within itself all the potential for transformation that we seek. As Eckhart Tolle teaches in his seminal work, the present moment is not just a temporal succession between past and future, but a dimension of depth that transcends chronological time. It is the only place where life can be truly experienced, where transformation can really happen. Everything else, past and future, exists only as mental construction. The conditioned mind has a natural tendency to escape the present, constantly projecting itself towards the past or the future. As Jon Kabat-Zinn observes in his studies on mindfulness, this escape from the now is one of the main causes of our psychological suffering. We live so absorbed in memories and projections that we lose contact with the only reality that exists, this moment. The present is like a multifaceted diamond, revealing different aspects of its beauty depending on how we observe it. Through the practice of conscious presence, we begin to perceive the infinite nuances of immediate experience. The sounds, bodily sensations, thoughts that arise and disappear, the very consciousness that witnesses all of this. As Thich Nhat Hanh explains, each moment contains the entire universe. Modern neuroscience, through the studies of Richard Davidson and other researchers, has demonstrated how the practice of full attention in the present moment can literally reshape our brain. When we keep our attention anchored in the now, we strengthen the brain areas associated with awareness, empathy, and well-being, while reducing activity in the circuits related to anxiety and stress. The present moment is also the only place where we can access our true nature. As Mooji teaches in his dialogues on non-duality, when we dive deeply into the now, we discover a dimension of being that is prior to all thoughts, emotions, and sensations. The very consciousness that is the basis of all experience. The practice of presence in the current moment reveals to us that life is not a series of isolated events, but a continuous flow of interconnected experiences. As David Bohm explains in his studies on the implicit order of the universe, each moment contains within itself the totality of the movement of life. When we are truly present, we can perceive this fundamental interconnection. The transformative power of the present moment manifests particularly clearly in challenging situations. As Pema Chodron teaches, when we learn to remain present even amidst discomfort and uncertainty, we discover an inexhaustible source of wisdom and resilience. The present becomes our most valuable teacher. The art of living in the present moment does not mean ignoring the past or not planning for the future. As Ram Dass explains, it's about bringing all our attention and presence to whatever we are doing now, whether remembering, planning, or simply being. It is the quality of our presence that determines the depth of our experience. The present moment is also the portal to authentic creativity. When we are fully present, as Stephen Nachmanovich teaches in his studies on the creative process, we access a natural flow of inspiration and expression that transcends the limits of the ego. Each moment becomes an opportunity to create something new and meaningful. On the great stage of existence, each of us is simultaneously the dancer and the dance, the creator and the creation. Manifestation is not a mechanical process of cause and effect, but a subtle dance between consciousness and energy, between intention and surrender. Like an artist who works with their own being as creative material, we learn to shape our reality through the alchemy of consciousness. Greg Braden, in his research on the science of manifestation, demonstrates how our internal states of thought and emotion create energy fields that directly influence the matrix of reality. We are not mere passive observers of the universe, but active participants in the ongoing process of its creation and transformation. Conscious manifestation begins with the recognition that we are already creators, whether we are aware of it or not. As Lynn McTaggart explains in her studies on the field of intention, our thoughts and emotions are constantly interacting with a quantum field of infinite possibilities. The question is not whether we are manifesting, but what we are manifesting. The law of attraction, popularized by various contemporary authors, is just the tip of the iceberg of a much deeper and more complex process. As Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches in his work on neuroplasticity and manifestation, when we align our thoughts, emotions, and state of being with our desired vision, we create an energetic signature that attracts corresponding experiences. The process of conscious manifestation requires a delicate balance between doing and being, between intention and surrender. As Michael Singer explains in his teachings on spiritual surrender, we need to learn to maintain our clear intentions while remaining detached from specific results. It's like planting a seed. We provide the appropriate conditions but trust in the natural process of growth. Our relationship with time is fundamental in the manifestation process. As Abraham Hicks teaches, the power of manifestation is intimately linked to our ability to energetically align with our vision in the present moment. It's not about projecting a desired future, but about embodying now the vibrational frequency of what we wish to manifest. The body plays a crucial role in the dance of manifestation. As Candace Pert's studies on the molecules of emotion demonstrate, our physiological state is intrinsically linked to our manifestation capacity. When we learn to create and maintain elevated bodily states, we naturally expand our ability to attract positive experiences. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools in the conscious manifestation process. As David Hawkins explains in his Scale of Consciousness, the state of gratitude vibrates at a particularly high frequency, creating a magnetic field that naturally attracts more experiences to be grateful for. It's a virtuous cycle of abundance and appreciation. Manifestation doesn't happen in a vacuum, but within an interconnected field of consciousness. As Rupert Sheldrake teaches in his theory of morphogenetic fields, our individual intentions and actions contribute to and are influenced by collective fields of information. The more people align with elevated frequencies of consciousness, the easier it becomes for everyone to manifest positive realities. The true power of manifestation lies not in controlling external reality, but in transforming our internal reality. As Marianne Williamson explains, when we change the way we see ourselves and relate to life, the universe naturally reorganizes itself to reflect this new perception. The most powerful manifestation is always the transformation of our own consciousness. Transformation is the very essence of life, a continuous movement of evolution and expansion that permeates all existence. As conscious beings, we have the unique privilege of actively participating in this process, intentionally directing our evolution through the art of conscious transformation. This is perhaps the highest form of creativity, the ability to consciously shape our own being. Jean Houston, a pioneer in the field of human development, teaches that conscious transformation is a multidimensional process that involves all aspects of our being: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Like an orchestra where each instrument needs to be in tune and in harmony with the others, all levels of our existence need to participate in the transformation process. Authentic transformation begins with the recognition of our essential nature. As A.H. Almaas explains in his work on the spiritual journey, it's not about becoming something we're not, but about removing the obstacles that prevent us from fully manifesting who we truly are. It's a process of discovery and realization, not acquisition or addition. The field of transpersonal psychology, through the work of pioneers like Stanislav Grof and Christina Grof, demonstrates that profound transformation often involves expanded states of consciousness. These states allow us to access deeper dimensions of our being and catalyze changes that would be difficult or impossible to achieve through conventional methods. Conscious transformation requires a deep understanding of the nature of change. As Ilya Prigogine teaches in his studies on complex systems, significant transformation often occurs through bifurcation points, moments of instability that contain the potential for a complete reorganization of the system. In our personal journey, these points often manifest as crises that carry within them the seeds of our evolution. The transformation process is fundamentally a process of integration. As Ken Wilber explains in his work on integral development, we need to learn to embrace and integrate all aspects of our experience: light and shadow, strength and vulnerability, wisdom and ignorance. True transformation excludes nothing. It transmutes everything into fuel for our growth. Resistance to change is a natural part of the transformation process. As Fritz Perls, founder of Gestalt therapy, teaches, this resistance should not be seen as an obstacle to be eliminated, but as a form of self-regulation that needs to be understood and integrated. Often, our resistances contain important information about aspects that still need to be processed or integrated. The art of conscious transformation requires a delicate balance between effort and surrender. As Angela Duckworth demonstrates in her research on grit, perseverance, significant transformation requires consistent commitment over time. However, as Adyashanti teaches, we also need to learn to let go and trust in the natural process of consciousness evolution. The role of community in personal transformation cannot be underestimated. As Barbara Marx Hubbard explains in her work on conscious evolution, we are all participating in a collective process of transformation. Our individual changes contribute to and are supported by a larger field of conscious evolution. The deepest transformation happens at the level of identity. As Ramdas teaches, when we begin to identify less with our personal stories and more with the consciousness that witnesses all experience, we experience a fundamental freedom that catalyzes all other transformations. It's a shift in perspective that fundamentally alters our relationship with all of existence. At the apex of our transformation journey, we arrive at the profound recognition of our true nature as conscious creators of our reality. This is not an endpoint, but a new beginning, the awakening to a completely new way of being in the world, where each moment is recognized as a sacred opportunity to express and expand our creative consciousness. As Jean Houston teaches, each of us is an artist of life, endowed with the divine power of conscious creation. Our canvas is the very field of existence. Our colors are the states of consciousness we cultivate, and our brush is the focused attention with which we direct our creative energy. The work of art we create is our own life, moment by moment. The awakening of the inner creator is accompanied by a profound shift in perspective. As David Hawkins explains, we move from a reactive state of consciousness, where we see ourselves as victims of circumstances, to a creative state of consciousness, where we recognize our active role in co-creating reality. This shift in perspective is itself one of the most powerful transformations we can experience. Modern science, through studies in quantum physics and neuroplasticity, is beginning to validate what mystics have always known. Consciousness is a fundamental creative force in the universe. As Bruce Lipton demonstrates in his research on the biology of belief, our thoughts and states of consciousness directly influence not only our subjective experience, but also our physical and biological reality. The awakening of the inner creator is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process of expansion and refinement. As Sri Aurobindo teaches in his vision of conscious evolution, we are participating in an evolutionary movement that seeks to manifest ever higher levels of creative consciousness in matter. Each of us is a focal point of this evolutionary process. The responsibility that accompanies the recognition of our creative power is profound. As Marianne Williamson explains, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, but that we are powerful beyond measure. The awakening of the inner creator requires us to fully assume responsibility for our creative energy and its manifestations in the world. Conscious creation operates simultaneously on multiple levels. As Ken Wilber demonstrates in his work on integral development, we need to learn to create harmony and coherence in all aspects of our being. body, mind, emotions, and spirit. It's a process of alignment that allows our creative energy to flow more fully and integrately. The power of conscious intention is one of the most important tools of the awakened creator. As Wayne Dyer teaches, intention is not just a desire or a thought, but a field of energy that aligns and directs our creative forces. When we learn to cultivate and maintain clear and elevated intentions, we naturally manifest realities that reflect that clarity and elevation. Conscious co-creation with others is a fundamental aspect of the awakening of the inner creator. As Barbara Marx Hubbard explains, we are evolving from individual creators to conscious co-creators, learning to combine our creative energies in ways that benefit the whole. This is the next frontier of our evolution as a species. The truly awakened creator recognizes that their greatest work of art is the very state of consciousness they maintain moment by moment. As Thich Nhat Hanh teaches, every thought, every word, every action is an expression of our creative consciousness. The quality of our presence determines the quality of our creation. As we integrate all the aspects explored in this journey, the awakening of the inner observer, the understanding of mental patterns, the cultivation of body wisdom, the alchemy of emotions, the power of the present moment, the dance of manifestation, and the art of conscious transformation, we emerge. As more integrated and conscious beings, each aspect becomes a facet of the diamond of our creative consciousness. The invitation that presents itself now is to continue exploring and expanding our creative capacity with wisdom and compassion. As Jack Cornfield teaches, the spiritual path has no end. It's an eternal dance of discovery and expression, where each realization opens the doors to new possibilities for expansion and transformation. This journey we've shared is just the beginning. The seeds planted through these reflections will continue to germinate and flourish in your consciousness, revealing new levels of understanding and possibilities for creative expression. The invitation is for you to continue exploring, questioning, and expanding your consciousness, always remembering that you are, in your deepest essence, a conscious creator, participating in the great dance of existence. Like a river finding its way to the ocean, our consciousness naturally seeks to expand and express itself in ever higher and more integrated ways. The awakening of the inner creator is the recognition of this fundamental truth and the commitment to consciously participate in this evolutionary process. It's a call to live in the fullness of our creative potential, contributing to the evolution of consciousness on our planet. May this exploration serve as a catalyst for your own awakening as a conscious creator, inspiring you to manifest with ever greater clarity and power the unique light you came to share with the world. The universe eagerly awaits your unique and essential creative expression.